Hey, what's up, everybody? Hey, how y'all ladies doing?
Lovely. How are
Welcome.
you?
I am great. Welcome, you guys. Welcome, everybody that just joined us to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you to master your mindset and maximize your money. Today, this is going to be an explosive and, frankly, a disturbing topic. We talking about your boy. We talking about your mans. We talking about Sean P. Diddy Combs, music mogul, who's been y'all know. If you haven't heard anything about what's going on with Diddy, you must be under a rock because it's everywhere. This music mogul, this billionaire, he has been charged with some of the most shocking allegations in recent history, from guns to drugs to sex trafficking and violence. And y'all, these are not just rumors anymore. There's an actual indictment. There is a court case, and there are mountains and mountains of evidence. So, what happened to Diddy? How did a man who once stood at the top of the music industry fall so damn hard? Now, we are going to explore his demons. We're going to explore his addictions. But most of all, we're going to take away the lessons that we can learn from his missteps, because that's what this is about, right? So, you see, we only have three queens here. We have Dr. Alicia. Dr. Alicia is a social worker and she is a victim's advocate. And then we have Miss Athena. She is the We Wealth Warrior Coach. CP. Oh, I love it, goddess. Yes, give it to him. And you guys, so every time we come here, we always have a certain group of men who are always saying, you know what, y'all need some men on here. Y'all need some men. You know what? You guys have spoken and we've listened. We actually have a man here today that we want to bring in the conversation. So I want you all of you regulars out there, I want you to welcome therapist, mental wellness coach, talk therapy, psychoeducation, well consultant, Joe Corley. What's up, Joe?
How y'all
Welcome.
doing? How y'all doing?
Welcome to
Thank you
the
for having me.
welcome to Fly Nubian Money. So y'all know, like I said, if you've been under a rock, then you may not have heard about what's going on with Diddy. But if you have had any type of ear outside of your household, and if you've been connected to any kind of media, then you know that there are some explosive things happening with Diddy. There has been a lot of people who've been wanting to see his downfall for a long time. Some people have been talking about it for a very, very long time. A lot of people have been called haters. People haven't listened, but there's an indictment. And so there's a couple of videos I want to go ahead and take a look at and just kind of explore what's been going on. And we have two good doctors here today. And then, of course, we have the lady who's up on all the pop culture with us as well, Miss Athena. She knows all about pop. She knows if I want to know anything about what's going on in pop culture, we have all the right people here today. So let's take a look at this video we have. I want to see the one with which one do we want to see first?
I voted for Faison, but whatever you want to
Let's
do.
look at Faison's fat ass. Let's look at Faison's.
I need y'all to help me. We all heard about Puffy, and I see a lot of people, yay. I'm confused. The Cassie thing, I understand. I think you should definitely lock this up. Put hands on the young lady. But I don't understand the other shit. Can y'all help me? When has being nasty been a federal crime? And I'm glad they told me. I didn't know there was a limit on baby oil. I'm getting a few, because we get ashy. But you get a massage or something or whatever. I don't know. I don't know.
So perhaps Faison needs 1,000 bottles of baby oil to take the ash off of his ass. But that is a very, very, very uncommon thing. But what do you think, Athena, of the idea that he's saying, look, I could see, him beating Cassia, but what is the problem with this man having a high freak meter? Do you think it's just a high freak meter, or do you think that there's actually a real problem?
I think that in the case of Diddy, there's definitely a real problem. And I don't think people realize how sinister or how deep it goes. I definitely do think that Diddy is probably on a case level of like an Epstein. I follow this lawyer on YouTube. Her name is Attorney Simone Wedrine. And she was saying, she's reading through the actual paperwork, the things that have been filed. And they were saying that, even his companies were like fronts for like a sex trafficking ring almost. Because why would you need 1,000 bottles worth of baby oil? That sounds like a business. That sounds like inventory. That's not like personal use.
So that goes back to what Armando said. Diddy was an investor of baby oil, 1,000 shares of oil. He was investing in petroleum.
I guess so.
He didn't have a sex ring. He was an investor.
You see, this would make sense if he owned a bunch of sex shops or something like that. But how many parties are you having that you need 1,000 bottles of baby oil? And 784 dildos were found as well. Like how much?
Talk about that too. Yeah. I'm with Boys. Boys said this poor brother seems to have a breathing problem. Talking about Faison. I couldn't even hear anything over the breathing. So that's all I heard. And I heard a stomach growling. So that's the only thing I heard. But what did he say? Dr. Alicia, what do you think about what Faison said? Because I couldn't hear over the breathing and the stomach growling.
I ain't gonna do anything with the breathing. Listen, it is not illegal to be nasty. Listen, it is not illegal. It's perfectly fine. If people want to go to a party, a Puff Daddy party, ain't no party like a Puff Daddy party, and you have the real party, and then people leave, and then the after party happens, and you have consenting adults participating in whatever acts they feel like they want to participate, pleasure seekers. That's not against the law. Where I think it becomes against the law is if you're drugging somebody and having non-consensual relations with that person, and they're not fully aware of what's happening. You haven't totally gotten consent, and it's been happening for years and years. I'm a victim's advocate here. And if you are abusing women and dragging them by the hair and beating them up and participating in this predatory behavior where you're taking advantage of someone, that puts you into a situation where it is sinister, and you're part of this dark triad of individuals who psychologically doesn't care anything about not only yourself, but definitely not another person, another sentient being, to treat them this way. I think that's where it gets not only illegal, but it's immoral to treat people this way.
Yeah. So listen, we always have the ladies that are talking. Thank you, Dr. Alicia. Today, we have a gentleman. For those who just joined us, we have a therapist, a mental wellness coach, because we need to therapize what's going on here. We have a talk therapy, a psychoeducator, and a wellness consultant. Let me ask you from your perspective, Joe. Mm-hmm. Is this some sort of depravity? Is this an addiction? Is this some kind of mental illness? What do you think? Or is this dude just a super de-duper freak?
Yeah, I agree with everything the doctor said. There is nothing. No one's against being nasty. If you're nasty, be nasty. We had 1,000. He had 1,000. Bottles of oil. It's somebody out there with 1 or 2 bottles of oil that just can't afford 1,000. Has no space to put them. Are we calling them nasty too? He just has the means to do nasty stuff at a higher level, at a higher clip than most people. I think when it comes to problem, when you do it despite the possibility of negative consequences, and we're talking about actually harming people, actually holding people against their will, that's when it becomes a problem. But if he wants to have dildos and baby oil, we don't know if that's an addiction unless it comes at a negative consequence.
So I don't know, Doc, because there's normal and there's abnormal. 784 dildos is not really normal. 1,000 bottles of baby oil. Not. I mean, just because he can afford it doesn't make it okay. I mean, Doc, come on now. You can't say there's levels. And after you get to a certain level, then there's depravity, then there's addiction, then there's a dark side.
I mean, if you have okay, we're talking about somebody that's close to a Billy, So if I have a couple $100 and I go spend, 150 of that $200 on 2 dildos, what's the difference? You know what I mean? Like it's if all I can afford is 2, then I'm getting 2. But if I can afford, how many did he have? 300? I don't know how many he had. I mean,
700 some dildos.
784. That's the specific number.
784 is wild, but I don't know how many people be at his parties. You know what I mean? Like you might need, and it could be a sanitary issue. Maybe he's trying to be sanitary.
Oh my God.
So
I'm just saying.
Remember that audio is running around with supposedly, allegedly was Meek Mill being blown out. So maybe he was using one of them.
Meek Mill get his back blown out, so he just have one. Because listen, they say rappers don't wear the same shoes twice when you at that level. So maybe you don't want to use the same. Dr. Alicia, I see you over there chomping at the bit. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it depends. Listen, any one of these things independently, you wouldn't really have concern about it. But taken together, the videos, the weapons, the oil,
the drugs,
the dildo, all of the evidence is overwhelmingly more than just being nasty. And I think that when we start labeling it, they just being nasty, you're minimizing the experience of the true victimhood of individuals who have been caught up into this, and it's not been pleasurable for them. This is not just being nasty. This is where you're violating other people, you're abusing other people, you're using your power to take advantage of other people. That steps into, like I said, not only immoral and practices like that, but it is bigger than just an addiction issue. It is you're traumatizing other people, you're reaping havoc on people. And there's been so many people along the way that have dropped hints that, hey, this is what's going on, and almost like setting us up for eventually these things will come out. And just one person can't do it. When there's 300 witnesses, that's an overwhelming case. It's very hard to prove. When you're alone in a room with somebody and someone takes advantage of you, it's your word against theirs. That's very difficult, and sometimes never gets fleshed out in court in the way that it should be. And courts can't do anything with that. But that one person systematically goes around and violates all these other people. That's when there's this whatever his name is, Weinstein situation where, it's going to come back and get you. But it's unfortunate that so many people have to be victimized before we get to this point.
I mean, when you have a lot of money and access and resources and people covering up for you, that's what does happen. But I love people said, Big Matt said, this conversation is going to be a little slippery today. Yes, stay tuned. It's going to be a little bit slippery. Armando said, when nasty goes wrong. Listen, you are watching Fly Nubian Money right here. And this is where we help you to maximize your money. Every time we go live, we are here Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. And every time you want to get notified before we go live, I need you to do me a favor. Put this in your phones right now. Y'all get your phones out. Text the word Queens to 87948. Okay? QUEENS to 87948. And guess what, y'all? We is on Spotify. So go over to Spotify as well. I want you to bookmark the page and get alert every time we go live, because if you can't see our beautiful faces, and listen, we got a handsome one today. If you can't see our faces, at least you can listen to us as we talk and engage with us. And listen, this is always a dialogue and not a monologue. Y'all know the ones who we love to see you every single day. We have some regular people, Big Mac, Armando, Black Lexica, Debbie, Win, all you people who are here with us every day. And all of you who are new to the channel, we love you. We like for you to talk back to us and talk black to us. So make sure that you're not only talking to us, but you're sharing this with the people. Subscribe to our channels, whatever channel you're watching this on, because we're on several platforms. So make sure you subscribe. Now, I want to ask the queen of pop culture. We talked a little bit about the people stepping down from, when Diddy got arrested, it was like people was dropping. I remember in 2008, because I'm in the mortgage business, and like every hour we would get alerted every time a bank went out of business. Boom, bank go out of business. Boom, right? So there was like this website where it says this bank went out of business, and like every minute the bank was going out of business. So like every minute between the last couple of days, we seen moguls, CEOs, record label executives going out of, or stepping down. What do you think about that? Is there some tea? Is there some fire with a smoke, girl?
All right. Remember I said I feel like Diddy is on the level of like an Epstein situation, because why would you record so much in your house if you weren't recording to have blackmail people to make sure, one, that they don't repeat or what they see there, but two, also if you go down, then you can sink the ship. Ooh. Since Diddy, being the princess of pop culture as I am, since Diddy has stepped down, some of the people who have stepped down since he's been in jail: Kevin Liles, music executive; Eric Pryor, president of fine arts; Jonathan Holloway, Rutgers president, okay? And many to name a few. I do think that Diddy is probably like a link. This is my theory now, a link in some sex trafficking ring that is on a global level. So I think everyone is circling the wagon around that. Mm-hmm. And what I also think when it comes to the Diddy situation, his fall from grace, notice that he didn't start having these type of issues until he started suing that Diego liquor company, that liquor giant that he had a contract with. And towards the end of the legal dispute, which got resolved in January, he no longer owned it. So I think Diddy pissed off his handlers, the people who signed his checks. And since he sued them, now they're coming to pull his chain, because what we do know and understand, since this is Fly Nubian Money and we're talking about money, is that when you do not solely own your business and you are dependent on people to distribute your product, as Black people who don't own distribution and certain things like that, those type of people with that type of money are not going to do business with you unless they have a file on you. So when you get out of line, they yank that chain. So that's why I feel like Diddy's going through this now, because it's been, what, 30 years of this?
Listen, what you said, I've been seeing stuff pop up on social media last couple of days. I saw Eddie Griffin today just saying that Diddy has video of him having sex with all of these major players. Clive Davis, he said he has video on everybody. And so the reason why the feds went and raided his house is because they say, yo, Clive Davis and all of them have friends in the Department of Justice, and said, y'all need to go get them tapes. Now, if Diddy's a smart man, then he may have had, of course, I'm sure he's duplicated them, but they don't want him to implicate them in this sex ring that you're mentioning. So that is a very good, that's a very good thought, because I think that there might be some truth to that. That, you know, when there's smoke, there's fire. There's also his bodyguard, and I want to play that video. There's also his former bodyguard who was talking about this very thing, and he's been talking about this for years, y'all. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Let's run that tape.
Some dudes belong in jail based on what they do and how they do it. We know that to be true. And it's just this situation, man. When they get down to all the facts and all what happened, he may belong in jail, bruh. And that's not my doing. That's not Cassie doing. That's his doing and his learned behavior from the people that mentored him. You got to realize, man, he learned from Andre Harrell. He learned from Russell Simmons. He learned from Clyde Davis. You understand? When those people are telling you that they were heavy into the drugs, they was heavy into beating women and doing things at that age, at that crazy stage, that's going to make him think that he could get away with the same thing that they was getting away with back then. You understand? The things that he was saying, you know, the touchy-feely between two men and all that stuff like that, man. All that, he learned that from them dudes. When I told y'all the story, when me and my man went up to Russell Simmons, and he had a house, and he had a man in bikini drawers in his bedroom, in his bed. You understand? Bruh, this is that he learned. I'm assuming he learned it from them. Let me put that. And I'm not going to say alleged because I saw that for my own self. My man was with me. Slick was with me. And we saw that for our own self. You understand what I'm saying? So these are behaviors and things that with drugs and all the stuff that's going on, pills, drinking, it can make this man into a monster. And that's what it did, bro. It made him into a monster, bro.
Yo, Slick too? You think Slick was being slicked up?
That's wild.
But listen, let's talk about that because I've heard stuff about Justin Bieber being groomed. We've heard rumors about Usher being groomed. Is there, Joe? And I want to introduce everybody to Joe. So for all of you who are just tuned in, and for all of you who are maybe our regular listeners and watchers, we have a brother because y'all been asking y'all like, why it's got to be all women? Because Fly Nubian Money. We Nubian queens. However, we have a Nubian brother here today, Joe, who is a therapist, mental wellness coach, talk therapy, psychoeducation, wellness consultant. Okay. I want to talk about the idea of grooming, and I want to get inside because you are a psychotherapist, right? Psychoeducation. You are a therapist. Get into the mind of that. What, how does the succession start if you're being groomed, and how that plays a part in you, and then you grooming other people, and then it's like a cycle that doesn't stop. What do you think about the idea of him being groomed?
Well, I mean, I heard someone ask earlier, is this like a learned behavior? And like everything is a learned behavior. Like, so emotional triggers are something that probably happened to Diddy well before the age of 10, kind of laid the foundation for what we're looking at today. And then, who knows, what happens to our emotional triggers when they're exacerbated by money and power. So that's not me making excuses for him. That's just me saying what it is, depending on, what happened to him as a young person, this could really be a lot of people, in this situation, honestly. So to get into the mind of it, I'd have to really like understand exactly what he's been through, and what his lived experience was when he was a young person. But it is highly possible what the bodyguard is saying, is now, do I think that he got, all this happened to him in his adult life? No, I think something happened to him when he was younger that laid the foundation for people like Clive Davis and, Andre Harrell and whoever, to just kind of expand on whatever he experienced as a younger person. But yeah, highly possible that he was groomed and then groomed other people, because it's all learned behavior.
I like what Black Lexicon said. I think patient analysis of evidence that will be present before coming to a conclusion. We want to believe in due process, y'all. But due process has to be applied as much as it might hurt. So he's saying, listen, everybody's innocent until proven guilty, but we have a whole lot of evidence, a whole lot of people out there saying that they were victims of Diddy. And he's obviously admitted, at least in one case, to Cassie, right? Because we saw video evidence and then he paid her off. But going back to what Joe said, Dr. Alicia, there might have been an issue that he already had. Add money, add power to that. Is that a recipe for disaster?
Well, listen, my brother went to college with Sean, and he said that he would just run around campus. He was not very attractive. He did not have a lot of money. His teeth was all jacked. Like, he wasn't like seen as the most desirable person. However, what my brother said was that he started to become known with throwing these really great parties. And that's how he became popular. So if you think about it, if we can try to get into the psychology of it, maybe, he felt inadequate in some way. He felt really insecure in some way. And he got the attention that he felt like he needed, the recognition. He was all powerful because he's I'm going to be a DJ and I'm going to throw these nice parties. And he didn't graduate from college, of course, but you know, those were the things. So what sort of things are happening with you that makes you vulnerable to being preyed on? Because we remember Mace. You know, Mace was part of this whole thing. And then eventually Mace was like, I've had enough of this. I don't want to participate in this anymore. And he was out. Like, he decided, and that's the choices that you make. Can you walk around with integrity? You know, are you somebody that needs to hide and deflect and minimize all these things with abuse, the abuse that you've done? Are you that kind of person? Are you going to be like Mace? And Mace went to the church. So what all he saw, he was trying to cleanse his soul from what he may have had a choice. Everybody has a choice. It's a crossroad that you get into. Of course, Mace doesn't have the popularity and the money and the notoriety that Sean eventually got, but maybe he saw something that he believed, I am not going to participate in this anymore, and got out.
You think about this though, mostly everybody that has had dealings with them, they've been kind of like, either if they haven't expressly said it, they've been hinting it. So if you look at some of the stuff Mace said, Mace is like, you know, I mean, about time. I read his book a long time ago. And then you look at all the people who are associated with him. Either they're dead, they're flat broke, something is wrong. They went way to the other side. You know, remember Craig Mack went to an occult, and it comes out that he had actually had AIDS, which is crazy. And then, Mace went to the church. So there's just so many things that surrounding Diddy, just mounds and mounds of tragedy that you think, what's really going on? But for all of you guys that are just joining us, listen, you are watching Fly Nubian Money, where we help you to maximize your money. Every time we go live, we want to make sure that you get notified. So make sure, I want you to pick up your phones right now. If you haven't done it already, pick up your phones and text the word Queens to 87948. That's QUEENS to 87948. All right. And if you want to learn how to grow your money, not blow your money, go to flynubianmoney.com. Make sure whatever platform that you are on, subscribe, share this with your friends, because we talk about things every day at the same time that I think are relatable and that actually can impact you in a positive way. Because we're going to talk about the solution and the resolution. We ain't just here gossiping, y'all. We're actually talking about things that matter, but to figure out how we can do better as a people, as a culture. All right. So, you know, I do really want to, there was one that I seen today. I mentioned earlier with Eddie Griffin. Eddie Griffin was talking about how he was groomed, just like his bodyguard was talking about how he was groomed, and like perhaps they were making sure that they weren't affected by this. So I want to take a look at that. Pull up this video. Somebody said, "Oh, Armando said, do you?" As we're pulling up the video, we'll ask a question. Do you guys think Diddy will turn up unalive to prevent exposing the industry? It's a possibility. It happened to Weinstein, right? He turned up unalive. Kara said, I wonder if Issa Rae has anything to say about what she's seen. She was partying with Diddy back to back after she got success from her Insecure show. And then what about I still can't believe it, y'all. I'm not going to believe it until something comes out. But Bishop, I can't believe that the good Bishop Jakes is a power bottom, y'all. I cannot believe it.
Why you can't believe that?
I will not believe
a lot of these churchmen be suppressing now.
I will not believe that the good bishop is a power bottom. Now, I did see him at church out here around New Year's, and he was like, I didn't even know if you guys wanted me to come. He was so contrite. And I was like, but why would he, if it ain't true, why would he be.
That was his conscience talking. That's why.
I don't believe so. The good bishop wasn't participating in the shenanigans. Not see Big Mac, I'm with you. Not TD. No. But I also did not believe that Eddie Long was doing anything wrong either. And I was like, until he came out with that toupee on his head, I was just like, when he came out with the toupee, I was like, now he's guilty. All right, let's go ahead and play it.
And Diddy, they said, nigga, you gotta take this shit because we can't be involved. But Diddy smart. He filmed every fuck session. So he was fucking Clive and the motherfucking freak boy that run Universal Music Group. So he got them on some fuck tapes. Now, that's why they raiding the house, because they got friends in Homeland Security and the feds. And they said, get in there and get them tapes from this nigga. He trying to blackmail us. That's what I believe is going on. They sacrificing Diddy. They said, nigga, you got to take this shit because we can't be involved. But Diddy smart. He filmed every fuck session. So he was fucking Clive and the motherfucking freak boy that run Universal Music Group. So he got them on some fuck tapes. Now, that's why they raiding the house, because they got friends in Homeland Security and the feds. And they said, get in there and get them tapes from this nigga. He trying to blackmail us. That's what I believe is going on.
Y'all.
He's sacrificing.
All right, we can take it off. All right, queen of pop culture, Miss Athena, what you think?
That makes sense, actually, because I think that's why they tried to coordinate the raids, is to make sure that they went in and get all the tapes, because I remember when that first dropped, there were already news cameras parked outside ready to report on the raid. So how did they know to be there for the police, right? So I do think when you are that connected, right, because I think a lot of the victims were afraid to come forward, because what has been alleged is that he's unalive, put people in jail, threaten people, guns, blow up Kid Cudi's car. So you are in fear for your life. So when you're dealing with someone that can possibly erase you off the planet or has all these tapes, I think that it goes to show the amount of power and the sinister level of debauchery that we are going to be exposed to as time moves forward. I do think that, like I said, Diddy is just a link in the chain. And if you think he's in the top of that link, you are sadly mistaken. Clive Davis and other people, I think, are involved. I think this is a global thing. I think for whatever the reason being, they're sacrificing Diddy. And if that is the case, it would make sense to call my Homeland Security friends and be like, the ones that I know, let's try to gather these tapes, gather these things, and see if we can like erase some of it potentially, so that we're not implicated.
But if he's smart, he'd had copies. You know what I'm saying? If he's a smart man, and first of all, why? Okay, a couple of things. I have so many questions. Why do you know that you are under investigation? Why not get rid of the baby oil, the dildos, the guns, the drugs? First of all, like, what do you plan on having some more freak offs? What's really going on? But for you, doctor, somebody said, what was it? The son said tapes was next door that they didn't get. How do you have this level of activity going on and insulate your children from this? How could that have happened? That's for you, Joe.
Oh, okay. Resources. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's hard to get into it to understand, because I don't know if anybody here has that kind of money, but I mean, you know, it's got to be resources. If you have the resources, you can do a lot of things in the United States of America. So, you know, he could, you know, or he didn't insulate his children. He just thought he did. You know what I mean? We don't know. I mean, it's very likely that they understood and knew what was going on. And, you know, might be some learned behavior in that too. We really just don't know until we actually talk to them kids.
Dr. Alicia, do you think that the kids can be totally insulated from that type of behavior? Because there's no way you can be, I mean, I guess if you're a total sociopath, because we have seen sociopaths, but to be this level of depravity, if that's the case, how do you keep that from your children? And then the children are so loyal to him.
That, you know what, being absolutely 100% loyal to your parents, that's unhealthy. That's not healthy behavior.
Say it again, Dr. Alicia. Hopefully my parents watching.
That's not healthy. That's like saying, okay, all of these really toxic things are happening behind closed doors, but just to save face, we're going to put on this hat and pretend like we're all together and smile for this great picture. That's not healthy. That's toxic family patterns. I don't think that those children are insulated from these events. How could they not be affected by a parent who's raising them, who has absolutely no empathy for what he's doing? He's rationalizing his behavior as it being okay. How can you really teach your children one thing and then go on and practice another. Children
Right.
see what
That's
you're
what I'm
doing.
saying.
It doesn't make sense that you can hide 1,000 bottles of baby oil and not have to explain that to somebody. Parents,
Also,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say also, your granny was a freak too. Like, how much do you know about, what your granny was
There's
doing?
levels to the freakness, and we have our freak. Everybody got a little freak in them, but
But
there's
how
a
much do
level.
you know about your freaky granny? Is all I'm saying. Like, how
My
much do
granny
you
got
know?
my granny got 11 kids by 4 different men. I know she was a freak.
Okay, well, you know that because she got 11 kids, but you don't know how she was getting them kids. She could, she might be hanging from the chandelier.
I bet she was.
We don't know.
Joe is being spicy today. She might be
I,
I'm just
hanging from
trying
the
to tell you.
I
chandelier,
bet she
honey.
was. And then
I'm
The
just
wooden
trying to
window to
tell
the
you.
wall,
doors in the back
Joe.
country. No, but I get it. But that level, there's like
Mhm.
stuff that you could do behind the bedroom doors.
Yeah.
But you're bringing
Mhm.
different people in and out. There's a slide that we have where it said that people had to get IVs to replenish their electrolytes after during freak offs. Combs distributed a variety of controlled substances victims, in part to keep, this is not just your regular granny freaky shit, Joe. In part to keep the victims obedient and compliant. The indictment alleged after the freak offs, Combs and the victims typically received IV fluids to recover from the physical exertion and drug use. Combs is now accused of hitting, kicking, throwing objects. I mean, you can't insulate this from your kids too much, and dragging victims during and after these sexual encounters, with injuries taking days or weeks to heal. Not only to Cassie, Kim Porter. This is his children's mom, and they had to know. And look at how loyal. And it goes back to what Dr. Alicia said. That is an unhealthy, or something is going on, because that this man has violent tendencies. It's been shown. If the way he whooped her ass like he did right here, as we seen him drag her back from the elevator to that room, he did the same thing to their mom. How are they then so loyal? I just saw my man, Albie Shore, my ex-boyfriend, Albie Shore, last week, and he was out in DC with his son, Quincy. They were over at the White House for the Black Excellence thing. But Quincy is loyal to Diddy, and he's like, me and Al, we just cool. We homies. This man beat your mama's ass. And it's a known fact. Dr. Alicia, again, I want you just to kind of speak on that. How?
We're talking about dysfunction in families, and it can happen, right? I mean, there's been a lot of people who grew up. Let's just say we're not inside this house, but let's just say there's domestic violence happening with your parents. Your mom and your dad are beating on each other. Yeah, you have feelings about that. You're gonna have anger. It's an emotional thing. It depends on which parent you identify with. So if you identify with your dad, depending on where you are developmentally, identify with your dad who's beating up on your mom, then you internalize that and can have terrible thoughts about women, right? To say that she deserved it. And if you identify with your mother's pain and you see that your dad is beating on your mom, yeah, you're conflicted with that, because at the same time, that these are people that should be loving and taking care of you. At the same time, they're violating you, because witnessing your dad beat your mom, I mean, that is a violation of what you see. It's a spiritual soul warfare to see your parents fight like that, and coming to terms with that contradiction, living with that contradiction creates anxiety, it creates depression, it creates all sorts of mental health issues. And it's just something that I'm used to, and you have to help people sift through that, because it's not like your dad is 100% horrible, right? Your dad does some great things. They buy you nice stuff. They take care of you, but at the same time, they're not empathetic, and they don't love and care for the people they're supposed to love and care. You love somebody, but if you love someone, you shouldn't put your hands on them and hurt them in that way. And how do you rectify that? It's something that a lot of people need to go to therapy to be able to sort through all of those conflicting feelings that you have, because you witnessed such a horrendous thing that's scary, frightening.
And to your point, Dr. Alicia, we've seen making a band. Remember when he made him walk across the bridge for the cheesecake? Like, we've seen so many things where Diddy has been abusive to people. This is not normal behavior that he's exhibiting. We've seen him throw things at people. We've heard stories for years of how he's abused people who work for him, how he tried to humiliate. I don't know if you guys remember Christopher Williams, I guess, owed him some money, or he wanted some money. And so what did he do? He made Christopher Williams give him oral sex. And somebody came in and he was just like, yeah, watch this, because I want to humiliate this dude. So we've heard these stories for years. There's no way that his kids ain't heard some of these stories or even witnessed some of the things. So the level of loyalty that they have, it's just unnatural. I tell you, you know, my ex did some stuff to me, and my kids are absolutely not loyal to that Negro from what they've seen, some of the stuff that he's done to me. So imagine not only the stuff that he's done to other people, but that they've seen him do to their mom. So you guys, listen, if you have just tuned in, this is Fly Nubian Money, and we are talking about Diddy's dark side. Are his addictions to blame to his actions? And I want to talk about the part that maybe drugs have taken in all of this debauchery. But are his addictions to blame for his actions? So listen, you're at Fly Nubian Money, whatever platform, because we're on about 8, 10, 15 different platforms. Make sure you're subscribing to our channels. Wherever you're watching us from, make sure you're subscribing and you're sharing. Hit the like button, hit the thumbs up, y'all. We need you to hit the thumbs up so people can see us and we can get that visibility, so more people will subscribe and we can continue to bring great conversation to you. Also, every time we come live, we need you to text the word Queens to 87948 so you can be notified, so you can know when we come live every day. Now, we are here every day, 5 days a week, same time, same bat channel, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Okay. And if you want to learn how to grow your money and not blow your money, go to flynubianmoney.com. As y'all know, especially for our loyal listeners, you know this is a dialogue and not a monologue. So we love when you talk back to us and talk black to us. Queen of pop culture. I want to go to this Breakfast Club video and just kind of talk about what they're saying over here too, because you know they had a lot of stuff to talk about this morning. Let's roll that.
I want to move it forward and say that Diddy is going to be appealing the decision to not receive bail today, and he's actually going to be appealing that decision, him and his attorney, with Judge Carter, because I reached out to Diddy's attorney and I said, well, what's the difference? Why appeal the next day? And he said Judge Carter is a judge that will be presiding over the full trial itself.
Different judge, right?
So they think that there will be a difference in that.
Do you think he's gonna get a bail?
Do I?
Yeah, I'm just asking in general.
I don't think that Diddy is going to get a bail.
I think Diddy should get a bail.
And
I ain't asking what you think. I said, do you think he's going to get one?
I think he is. The fact that he's putting up $50 million, the fact that he's putting up his family's passports, his mom's crib, the fact that he said he'll wear a GPS monitoring system, he'll only be in Miami, in New York, the fact that if you look at his family, his two daughters don't have the three of the kids don't have a mom. Right, they're staying with a family's friend.
Yeah.
But he has to do all of that because the feds think he's a slippery suspect.
Right. It will listen, all that baby oil. But
so yeah, I think he should get one. When you look at people like Harvey Weinstein, that got one, and you look at some of these other people, O.J. Simpson, that got one. Yeah. Bill Cosby got one. Diddy should be able to get a bail.
I don't want my name mentioned nowhere near any of those people
at all, ever. Period. If he does not get a bail though, I don't know if they're going to move him, but right now he's being housed at MDC Brooklyn, and some of the people that have been there, R. Kelly, Fetty Wap, Michael Cohen.
Now you don't want your name with those people either.
Yeah.
Nope.
You know what? So they're saying, Envy says, I think he should have bail, just like everybody else. Everybody else has had bail. You know, and I'm conflicted on that, because you think about this, all the people who he's hurt over the years, they get a second chance. Shine, he did an interview today, or maybe it was yesterday, and what he said is, I took the fall for him. And this man got witnesses on a stand against me so that I could go to jail in his place. And we all know that he's the one that shot that lady. Now, the lady that Diddy shot, she's been saying this since she was shot. No, Shine didn't do it. Diddy did it. And when Diddy got arrested, she said, thank God, hallelujah. So, you know, people are saying, you know, Diddy's not, and then we often compare, well, the white man do it, and you know, they get bail, but you know, there's been so many victims that just because somebody else has done wrong, it doesn't mean that he should get the same privilege. I mean, what do you think, doctor? Do you think that he should be able to get bail because of, you know, you compare him to everybody else? Joe, sorry.
Me? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think, you know, It's hard to say. You know what I mean? You're dealing with the legal system. It's a real
Now
sensitive.
I'm talking about you. Do you think that he should get bail based upon his charges?
You know, that's a tough question. I'm gonna be honest and say yes, because I do believe in due process. So I do believe that he should get bail, and while he's having the opportunity to defend himself. So, just what I believe.
What about you, Athena?
No, I don't think he should get bail because this is not, those cases that were brought up were not a huge sex trafficking ring type of situation to where the Department of Homeland Security has to run raids to your house. Yes, those men were nasty, but their nasty was at a lower level. This is like, you know, the Burj Khalifa nasty right now. And then the other thing too is it's hard for him to go and get bail because he had that 100 million default judgment against him by one of those accusers. And what happens sometimes in the legal system, shout out to Simone Redwine, attorney on YouTube. She explained when you have a default judgment that you have to pay out, it's hard for you to get bail because they won't allow you to use your home and things as collateral until that is resolved. So that's why Diddy's lawyers were actually down there trying to appeal that default judgment, which I don't think he should have had, by the way, so that he could get the bail that he needed. But my answer is this: I don't think that he deserves to get bail. I think that he is too much of a flight risk. Yes, he can put up everything. The 50 million, that's not all of his money, right? He's trying to sell that current house for 60 million. He can definitely hop on the little jet and go and see Russell and live out the rest of his days. So I don't think that he's too much of a flight risk.
All right, what do you think, Dr. Alicia? Do you think he should get bail based upon his crimes?
I don't really care if he gets bail or not. I'm more concerned about justice being served. Remember, I'm a social worker and a victim's advocate here. I want the individuals who had to suffer, who did suffer. I want them to get justice for for what they've gone through. And I don't want it to stop at Sean. I want everybody who was connected to this, who allowed this to happen. I want some consequences to go beyond Puff Daddy. It has to go beyond him. And if it stops at him and they put everything on his head, then I will be very sad about that because justice would not have been done. I want justice to be done. Maybe I live in a roses, everything should be roses in this world, but I would love to see a balance here. I would love to see things set straight and justice to do its job, not just with Diddy, but all the people who were involved. Who are the people on those tapes that knew those individuals were being drugged and beaten and knew about it and went for it anyway? Who enabled all of this? Who sold you the drugs? Who got you that?
Dr. Alicia, they set up the rooms. They had the lighting. They put the baby oil in place. They wiped everything down when it was done. They provided the IVs. Somebody was helping facilitate this.
See, it's for them same reasons. It's for them same reasons that I think that he should get bail, because accountability would not. It's just not working right. You know what I mean? So having him locked up while he's, you know, under indictment is, to me, not a fair distribution of accountability. It's for them same reasons that I said what I said.
But to the point, though, look at the comments. Death God said Diddler called Kaylina like 144 times. So then there's an issue of witness intimidation, right? And then Kelsey Devereaux said the judge, put that on the thing, the judge said he called a witness 120 times, which was concerning because he could be on the witness list. So you think about those things, because even behind jail, he still has power. You know, Incock said Diddy should not get bail because he has a tendency to reach out and intimidate people who were victimized or friends of the victims. He did too much and now he's paying for it. Afua said Diddy is fighting for his life. The next Epstein. He knows too much. So what's going to happen when he goes to jail? Renda said he's definitely a flight risk. I mean, if you felt like you could get on a plane and go somewhere and not be extradited, would you? Knowing that there's imminent jail time. Nobody wants to be R. Kelly. Nobody wants R. Kelly, but R. Kelly's in jail singing his ass off. He is singing. Did you see them videos of R. Kelly singing his ass off in jail? He in there having a good old time. Afua says social workers look for rehabilitation, don't they? Mark said there is no proof he is sex trafficking. There is no proof he is sex trafficking. Those are just allegations. Okay, well, you know, his bodyguard said, I'm not even gonna say alleged because I saw the shit with my own eyes. So we can say they're allegations because we don't know for sure, but some people are saying that they're not. Big Mac, we have to eradicate evil by any means necessary. He said he don't give a damn who he is. Take him out, and I don't care what he did, what the white man did, what whomever did. Just like Dr. Alicia said, justice for everybody. Deborah said, I'd like to see him get bail because I think he is his last chance to visit with his children. You know what, though? I feel he'll be murdered in jail due to his association. He wasn't thinking about them children when he was having them goddamn freak offs. He wasn't thinking about them children when he was beating Cassie's ass. So, you know, come on now. Come on.
How do you know that?
That he was beating Cassie's ass, or he wasn't thinking about his children?
How do you know? Yeah, how do you know he wasn't thinking about his children?
Because he was still beating it. If he was, he didn't care about him because he would have cared about his freedom. What do you think? I do want you to expound upon that. I'd like to hear what you have to say about that, because I do think, in my opinion, if you really cared about your children more than you cared about the money, the power, the sex, drugs, all that other stuff, then there's choices. Because there is right and wrong. And I know when you get to a certain level, y'all, you think you're above the law. You think you God because you have all these yes men around you, and you start to do things. You start to believe your own hype and smell your own ass. But there is a basic inherent idea of what's right and wrong. And so, Dr. Joe, what do you think about that? You said we don't know if he wasn't thinking about his children.
I agree with you about the choices. Yes, there are choices, but I also understand what addiction and obsession. I understand what these things look like. So sometimes you have to remove logic from these situations and recognize when somebody has a serious problem. And like, we don't know enough to know, like, is this a serious problem? It's always a choice. Don't get me wrong. He has a choice to deal or handle with his problems. But saying that, okay, I made this poor choice to do these terrible things does not necessarily prove that I wasn't thinking or I don't care about my children. It just means that I make poor choices.
Okay, I could dig it. What do you think? Look, and going back to that, he was on after he beat Cassie's ass. He was texting her. He texted her back to back. Call me. The cops are here. I got 6 kids, yo. Please call. I'm surrounded. You gonna abandon me? See, this is what narcissists do. They whoop your ass and then they become the victim. You gonna let this happen? You gonna abandon me like this? You gonna leave me like this? Athena, queen of pop culture. What do you think? Do you think that he was thinking about his kids during all of this stuff?
I think Diddy was thinking about himself during all this stuff. I'm not saying that he does not have love, care, and concern for his children. What I am saying is that the mindset to do all the things that he has done, this is definitely someone who is very much self-centered, self-focused. I don't want to use any therapist terms because I am not a therapist and I cannot diagnose anybody, but we all know what I'm hinting around. So, I think that he doesn't really care. I think when you get so much power, and maybe we can expound on this a little bit with the therapists that are here, when a man has that much power and money, it just seems like a lot of them are just inclined to engage in the most debaucherous things that they can just get away with, right? How come I don't see any super rich man on Diddy level being ultra righteous? Or if they are, it's a front. Because for the longest time, even, Russell Simmons, we were looking at him like this yoga, peaceful, eat, pray, love guy. And apparently he did some stuff too. So who out here doing the work? Who out here after they get the money?
Is innocent. TD Jakes is innocent. But to your point, Dr. Alicia, let's talk about that. What Athena's question, like at that level, the amount of depravity and the power and the money, can people have self-control when you're at that level, or is everybody out there like the Wild Wild West? What's going on, Dr. Alicia?
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, this is the reason why we love rap and hip hop and rock and roll, even rock and roll and that heavy metal music and all of that. Like, it is real exciting to go to one of those concerts, to see those people on stage. And these are, mind you, these are smart, smart. They're sinister, but smart. They're talented. I mean, there's some really good music coming out of them. I mean, during that time, especially with Bad Boy Records, there's some music. Mary J. Blige album, come on, that seminal album, it's a classic, right? So like, it's all this fun. It's like sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It's like all of the things that they live a life that we as regular people don't live. We look at it, it looks fun, exciting, it's gluttonous. I can eat what I want, I can drink what I want, I can do drugs, I make all this money. It's this lifestyle they got. They live in these nice houses, got their own private jets, and all of this stuff. It's exciting, touring on the
God complex, right?
Like this whole thing, it's stuff that we look at like, wow, how cool would it be to live that life, but then underneath it, it's a double-edged sword, right? Underneath it is this stuff that's coming out. We're thinking how great and fun this is, but really it's very toxic. These people are empty on the other side of that. They come out of it with substance abuse issues and all sorts of, their brain cells are just wiped out. You should see some of these people, like Ozzy Osbourne or whatever. He can't even put a sentence together. He looks like he's just been too much drugs, too much rock and roll. But that's part of it that just makes us kind of like excited about it. I know I was, I can see it differently, but yeah, I mean, this is part of that culture that's being promoted that's not healthy for us.
Yeah. I mean, it is the God complex. It's like if enough people tell you that you are everything, that you are the almighty, then you start believing that shit. But, just like you said, when you have that, he still produced great music. Somebody said, can a bad seed produce good fruit? I mean, I'm sure his children are, great children, and he's done some really great things. But I do want to know, can we separate what he contributed to the culture from who he is as a person, if these things are true, Joe?
I mean, that depends on who you are. I mean, you can separate them, but it's kind of hard because what memories do you have of Diddy? Do you have any memories of Diddy where his ego wasn't out of control, no matter what he was doing or what he was producing? You know what I mean? Like,
you know what? Let me tell you something. I hate what R. Kelly did, just like the rest of them. But if Step in the Name of Love comes on, I'm getting my ass on the dance floor and I'm stepping. I don't care. This man produced classics, and I'm going to step every time. That makes me feel good. It brings back times of my life. I do believe you can separate the two. For me, I believe that,
absolutely, you can separate the art.
Listen, if we're gonna stop listening to people because they live a debaucherous life, we would have no music.
Right.
Turn it all off.
And they took R. Kelly off for a long time. People stopped playing that at parties, and it's like, no, you cannot end a party not with grown people, without Frankie Beverly. Before I let go and Step in the Name of Love, I don't give a damn.
Yeah, but you think about how young these people are when they're getting into this stuff, and I saw somebody, say, it doesn't absolve you from your choices, and that's true. But I also I like to put things in perspective. That's what I do as a therapist. I put things in perspective. We all had, moments in our 20s and teens that were dumb, but we just did dumb broke stuff. Okay, so he's just doing dumb rich stuff.
Oh, so this is Rich Tivity's, Joe. This is Rich Tivity.
No, Pippin.
It's what it is. Joe. You cannot tell me that you understand his perspective unless you have walked in that perspective. It is very difficult for you to say.
1,000 dildos, 1,000 babies.
It's very difficult for you to listen. It's all about coping, right? So whatever he's doing, and it may be strange to us. And a lot of it is illegal if what they're accusing of him of is true, but it's all about coping. You know what I mean? So this is how he's chosen to cope, bad as it is. But like I said, you did some things to cope that was just brokish. You know what I mean? So he just doing rich drugs. You might not have been.
You got drugs. You got guns involved. I mean, you got battery, abuse. You got trauma. There's more to it than just being a freak. It's more to it than that, Dr. Alicia. What you think? What you think about?
Absolutely.
100%. I really do agree with Joe here because it's when you work for yourself and you're an entrepreneur, it's so different from getting up and going to work. Like his whole lifestyle was enabled him to continue this and there was no stops along. No one tells you no. Everybody's pulling all the stops to say yes. So when you have a lot of money and influence and your whole lifestyle is waking up at 2:00 and hitting the studio and doing this stuff, it separates you from regular people who get up and have to go to work every day. Like, it's hard to do drugs and start a sex ring when you're working for Nabisco. You can't do that. You got to go to work from 9 to 5.
Right.
It's real hard to do that. You can't manipulate women when you're driving in traffic trying to get to work on time so you can make this meeting. Right. You know, so his whole lifestyle, it fuels this sort of thing. And it tells us that innocent people, like, think about the people who want to become rock stars, who want to go to Hollywood. Sometimes they come from very vulnerable past. And we talked about preying on individuals. Sometimes they have backgrounds. I mean, just I love listening to the stories of successful people, but sometimes they cling to this success because they're hiding from the fact that they do have these insecurities underneath. That Puff Daddy text message that he sent to Cassie highlights his abandonment issues. So he had to have been rejected or neglected or felt unwanted as a child, because why would you have such a obsession? You know, abusive behavior is linked to abandonment issues.
Is that abandonment, Dr. Alicia, or is that manipulation?
It could be manipulation. I mean, it could possibly be, but it fits the profile of an abusive person.
Or a narcissist.
Places of insecurity or manipulate. He could be Machiavellian, where he's into manipulating someone. But people who've experienced some abandonment, they tend to be manipulative and jealous, and they want to dominate their partner, and they want to, you know, they are looking out for bits of rejection. They don't want somebody leaving them because they see them as an extension of themselves. All of those things could definitely play a part.
Agreed. 100% agreed. Man, y'all, look at somebody said Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis never did this crap. We don't know that. Somebody said Teddy Riley and Babyface, they never did that. We don't know that. It ain't came out just yet, right? Right. But check it. We are not here to judge. We're not here to be the judge or jury. This situation, it does challenge us to really reflect on our own lives. If we have the same access to power, like Dr. Joe said, and if we had the same resources as Diddy did, would we be in the same position? Would you?
I can tell you I would not be.
No, I would
be
gallivanting and living my best goddess life.
You have to have some moral compass. And just like Tiara said, you got to know who you are before you move to LA or get into these industries. Like, you have to, obviously, maybe he had no real foundation or grounding. And just like Dr. Alicia said, you know, she said, you know, he wasn't the most attractive guy. He probably didn't get all the girls. He didn't get all the play. But when he did get it, he probably didn't know what to do with it. So it's really easy to point fingers. But, you know, this is a reminder that unchecked desires and influences can lead to destruction. So we need to really use this moment to evaluate where we are and make sure that our own moral compass isn't broken. But I can guarantee you all hear me today, Constance Carter ain't gonna get $1 billion and go crazy. I know that because I know who I am and I know whose I am. Dr. Joe, tell us your last final thoughts and where we can find you, Dr. Joe. Dr. Joe, Joe Cordy. Okay, where can we find you? We want to know what you have to say about this.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook. You can, you know, that's my real name right there. My real picture pops up when you put that in there. I'll just say finally, on my final thoughts is, you know, vulnerability, you know, leads us to a place where we can, every single one of us has something that, you know, we don't want to come to light. So, and vulnerability can lead us to a place where we can have grace and empathy for other people. And that doesn't excuse us from accountability. Our actions, you know, are our actions, and we need to be held accountable for those. But it's when the judgment comes in and saying what we would and wouldn't do when we haven't actually necessarily walked in those shoes, and we don't have that perspective and can't even come anywhere close to that perspective. That's where, you know, the world gets in trouble. So I always try to encourage everybody to open yourself up to the possibility of different circumstances.
Yeah, you got to prepare yourself. And I'm glad you said that, because you go and then you got all the pressures of all these big, super powerful people, Clive Davis and all these other people, telling you that you have to do this in order to get that. And how do you respond? And if you don't do it, then you might go back to where you came from. But then the abuse becomes the abuser, right? Mm-hmm. So, Miss Athena, queen of pop culture, tell us your final thoughts.
My final thoughts, I'm going to echo something that Big Mac said in the chat. I'm not tripping on the freak sessions. It's the abuse that I'm not going to condone. So I'm not tripping that, Diddy is a freak. A lot of us do things behind a closed door, but it's the abuse. It's the, the unchecked, disregard for empathy and humans. And I think this case, we have to, like Constance said, look at our own selves and make sure that we are leading our lives with integrity. We are leading our lives in ways that promote ourselves and uplift not only ourselves, but our community. If you are a woman who's interested in learning about how to confidently manage her finances and live her best goddess life, okay, so if you go a billion like Diddy instead of doing debauchery, you want to live your best goddess life, you can find me at We Wealth Woman on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube and TikTok. And you can go to my website, thewewealthwoman.com, and listen to my podcast. I just dropped a late episode today, the We Wealth Woman podcast.
Let's go. Looks like you and your man Big Mac are on one accord today, huh? All right, Dr. Alicia.
Okay. All right. Let me go to Afua. Afua, thanks for joining us. Afua said, social workers are always big on rehabilitation, and that is correct. I really do believe in the healing power of all of us. And I think if I had to talk to Sean Puffy Combs right now, what I would say to him is confess, come clean. It is not too late to turn your life around. Come on out and say what happened. Start naming the names. Start exposing the sinister underground industry. And you have the choice now. You can be a champion. Even behind bars, it's not over for you. You can be a champion for what's right. So it's never too late to do the right thing. It's never too late to be like Mace, where you have a choice to get out. Go ahead and get out of this. Step out of it. It doesn't work for you. Your time is up and you need to face it. Face it. So for everybody who knows that the healing power is within them, you always have the choice to make the right decisions. You can contact me at Coaching with Dr. Alicia. I work with individuals. I work with couples. The healing power is within all of us, and my job is to help bring that out. Thank you, everybody, for being on here. You can watch me on Instagram at Coaching with Dr. Alicia.
Yay! Thank you. I need you to put this up on the screen. Latasha M. Taylor. She said, I disagree. Can you put that on there real quick? Because that's my final thought. I disagree 1000% with Joe. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks and acts. Money doesn't change a person, but it allows that person to be exactly who he or she truly is. Money ain't going to do nothing but magnify who you are. So thank you for that. That was a great final thought. I ain't even got to think of nothing. Thank you, Latasha. Where can you find me? Everywhere. I am Constance Carter. Thank you guys for joining us. Listen, you can catch us tomorrow every day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, same time, same bat channel. Text the word Queens if you want to get notification every time we come live to 87948. That's QUEENS to 87948. And remember, check out our website, flynubianmoney.com, if you want to know how to grow your money and not blow your money. Because if you blow your money, it ain't a damn thing funny. Hey, and Spotify. Make sure you check us out on Spotify. Follow us on Spotify. And if you haven't been on Spotify, go to Spotify and do a search for Fly Nubian Money. Make sure you join us, like, comment, and continue to share this information out there, because we want everybody to see what it is that we talk about, so we can continue to bring you great content. And for those of you who join us faithfully every day, we appreciate you. We see you and we love you. So thank you. Thank you for always dialoguing with us, because you know this is a dialogue and not a monologue. So we love for you to talk back to us and talk black to us, y'all. We're going to see you tomorrow. Peace. Bye, people. Bye, good people.